So today I will be interviewing Kevin Corso. Here we go. So Kevin, where are you from?
I am from Sandusky, Ohio.
Okay, and did you attend Bowling Green?
For college?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and how old are you?
I am 23 years of age.
Do you have any siblings?
I have a sister who's 29. Her name is Vanessa.
Okay, cool.
She is a musician too.
And is that where you happen to develop your liking towards
No.
music and instruments? No.
Mm-mm.
What instrument do you play?
I play guitar, bass guitar, and I dabble in piano.
Okay, and when did you start playing these instruments?
I started playing piano. I had piano lessons for like a month or two when I was 7, but I couldn't sit still, so they took me out of them. And I really didn't do anything musical again until I was 17 years old when I got a bass guitar.
Okay, and which instrument would you say is your favorite?
Definitely the bass. I love playing bass.
Okay. And have you had any formal kinds of training or lessons for the bass guitar?
No, that's all self-taught.
Okay, and how or who inspired you to play?
Well, I was inspired by a little band known as Green Day. They had just put out American Idiot, and I wasn't a fan of them at the time. All I knew is like Minority by them, and um, I heard American Idiot, and I got really jazzed about that song. I was like, wow, this is like the coolest song ever. And like one song isn't gonna make me buy an album, so I was like, well, it's a pretty good song. So I just listened to it on like Yahoo Music, and then I found Boulevard of Broken Dreams on Yahoo Music, and that was pretty sweet. But you know, I was like, if there's like I enjoyed that too, so I was like, if there's one more song, I'm gonna buy that album. And then Holiday came out, and I was like, my God, I bought it, and it changed my life.
And is that the similar kind of music that you play on the guitar?
Uh, yeah, yeah, that's what I play the most of. But I really like playing Michael Jackson too.
Okay, so you'd say you enjoy different genres of music?
I'm really picky, actually. There's people who be like, oh, I like anything, but I don't. I'm very specific about what I like, and, I might like Green Day, but I hate 99% of other punk bands because,
Yeah.
I think one of the requirements of punk, evidently, is to not be very good.
So if you were ever to have a career in music, what way would you go and what direction of music would you take?
If I were ever... That's kind of hard to say.
Do you want to do like a solo thing or be the bass guitarist in the band?
I could do either. Um, the thing I would like about being solo is that you don't have to listen to other people. Like, you have your manager and that's about it. But, like, creatively, it's, all your own thing. But being bass, I would probably be much more likely to do because I'm a lot better at bass than I am at guitar and piano. And I just don't have the... When it comes to writing songs, I never have words. I always think song lyrics are stupid, so I don't really
It's
write
just all
lyrics.
instrumental.
Yeah, pretty much.
And what aspect of playing the guitar do you most enjoy?
The energy. There's something about playing an instrument and playing music. Even just listening to music. I don't think anybody's a stranger to this. Listening to music, and you can feel the energy. It can take you from like a 5 to a 10 if this song comes on or something. So that's definitely it for me.
And what kind of guitar do you have?
The bass guitar or
Yeah.
the
Well,
bass?
both.
Okay, the bass is Epiphone SG bass, which I got because Jack Bruce is one of my favorite bass players. Those who like Cream will know who he is. most people won't know who he is, because everybody just knows Eric Clapton. But Ginger Baker, the drummer, they were all like legendary musicians, but Eric Clapton, it's a big shout out. And the guitar is a Telecaster, a Squier Telecaster with upgraded GFS pickups that make a huge difference.
And would you say those people you just talked about, do you aspire to be like them?
I want to say yeah, because that sounds great, but no, they're like inhumanly good. Like how they got to be that good, I'll never know. And at this late in life with no training and no professional career, I don't foresee that as a realistic possibility. Because what you're saying is essentially, do you want to be one of the best musicians who ever lived? And of course, yes, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Have you ever, with any of these instruments that you've played, have you ever played in front of a crowd? Any sort of audience?
I've sang, and no, honestly, just singing. Like we recently, there was a housewarming party we went to, and I played for a very small crowd of like a few dozen people, perhaps. Very small. Other than that, I've never played on a venue or anything. I've never had a gig, they say.
Okay, and with the other instruments, have you ever considered working on them in a fashion that you do with your guitars? Do you just put more, I don't know how to say it, more passion towards one than the other, or do you like to keep up with all of them?
Piano definitely gets the least amount of passion. Because it's the hardest one. And that's pretty much it. It's the hardest one, so it's hard to get motivated to play piano, especially when I'm so much better at bass and definitely better at guitar too. But it's sort of like whatever I need it to, because lately most everything I've been doing has been recording things, like for this movie that I'm doing the entire score, and I have to do the piano for that, because if I just had a guitar and a bass, it wouldn't fit. This is supposed to be like 40s noir spoof, so I need, I decided to make it a little jazzy, but the fake sounding strings and stuff, well, actually they sound pretty decent for a keyboard, but all that I have to do on the keyboard. So
okay, so keyboard's more of
need.
like a technical, like it's just there for your own use, and guitar's more like passion into it, and it's more for leisure, I guess, in a sense.
It's all really for leisure. I don't get paid to to play my music, but pretty much, let's say the only time that I play keyboard is when I need to, for whatever I'm trying to make, which is most of the time. But if I'm just like, man, I feel like playing some music today, I'm probably gonna grab the guitar.
Okay, and do you have any names for your guitars, or
I do.
Did you name them?
The bass is named Jack, after Jack Bruce, who I mentioned before. And the guitar is named Stephanie, after Lady Gaga, because it is a butterscotch blonde Telecaster.
And how would you describe your journey with having started playing, and from when you first picked up the guitar till now? How would you describe that?
Well, I think journey-wise, when you start from nowhere and you still are kind of nowhere, it's not really that much of a journey. But the one thing that music has taught me that I didn't have previously, that I don't know where I would have gotten had I not had this experience, was music has taught me patience, because it's the only thing that I've done that hasn't come naturally to me, because I grew up playing sports, so sports came naturally. School was easy. School came naturally. Music was so unnatural for me. It wasn't funny until I got the bass, and then for some reason that worked for me. I really don't know why. So yeah, it taught me that journey-wise. I don't know. I'm definitely a lot better than when I started, obviously. But
Did that make you feel like accomplished?
yeah, kind of. It's like the only thing I've ever had to work for, so that's something, I guess. But it's so frustrating because the people I like when I listen to Cream and I hear these guys, like what they're capable of, and knowing that I will probably never be that good, and I'll probably never meet anyone that good for that matter. It's frustrating.
And you said that you sometimes write some of your own stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I don't like to play other people's
Yeah.
songs.
Where do you find inspirations for those song ideas?
It, it'll depend. Like, sometimes something will just pop into my head, I guess, or I'll hear something, or I'll a lot of times I'll think I heard something, and it won't be it, but it'll lead to something else. But most of the things I come up with, I'll put on. This is another thing I like about the keyboard. It has like 50,000 beats on there, but I only use like 10 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. I'll put on a beat, and I'll just improvise things to it because I know theory. That's a big thing about knowing music that a lot of people don't get, is that you could be about 10 times better at your skill level if you knew theory than if you didn't. But yeah, most of the time I'll just throw on beats and I'll play something and I'll add other pieces to it as I sort of, I don't want to say like I hear it before I hear it, but I know it needs something, so I'll add something to it that I think sounds good.
And you said that you don't own an acoustic guitar?
Kind of. There's one at my parents' house that was given to me, but I don't use it. No. I think acoustic guitars have a stigma for me personally because too often I've been out here on campus or somewhere and there's some douchebag playing guitar and like some really weird girl, hippie girl, like that he's about to bang, just enjoying his crappy playing way too much. And I feel like electric guitar just has so many more possibilities and it sounds so much cooler.
Mm-hmm.
Plus you can get a clean tone out of it. You can't... Yeah, the clean tone on an electric is much better than like a distorted tone on an acoustic, I would say. Unless you got a really nice acoustic, which I don't. I don't have a really nice anything because I'm poor.
And when you play, do you use the picks or do you just free-handed?
That also depends on what I'm playing, because there's a style of picking when you play guitar that's called, I think, Travis picking, which you use your thumb and your finger to make multiple tones. And occasionally I'll do that because, honestly, I just think it's really fun to play like that. But most of the time I like to use picks. And what distinguishes me, I think, or distinguishes my style, I should say, not me, as a bass player, is that I do like to use a pick with a bass, and I use both guitar and bass, I use really thick picks, and most people hate that. A lot of people like thinner ones that bend a little more, but I like that thing like a freaking rock, and nobody ever wants to use my stuff.
And why do they prefer the opposite things?
That's a great question, because to me, I feel like when it's flimsy, I feel like you lose control. Maybe not lose control, but you compromise some control in regards to your timing and stuff. And I feel like the solid, steady, I think mine are, gosh, I want to say 2 millimeter. The solid, steady, thick ones, yeah, 2 millimeter, give you a much more aggressive sounding attack, especially when you're coming through on electrics and stuff. It can... Well, I already mentioned the control part. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It sounds a little better to me, and the control is easier for me.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time, Kevin.
No problem.
Yep.